Hi, in this video I'm going to paint a picture which is a scene from a movie. It's one of my favorite movies, and if you can guess what movie this is from, leave a note in the comments. I'm not going to reveal what it is, but I'm sure you guys will figure it out very quickly. Anyway, started off with a drawing. In this case, this is a picture of a Bible and a gun. And I think in order to paint a convincing gun, you kind of need a drawing because it's so geometric and so angular that if you're just kind of winging it, it tends to get a little messy and just not very convincing. I don't know how I feel about this painting. Um, I've been I've been kind of foraging images from movies and making paintings, and some of these come out better than others. This one, to me, I think, is just a little too realistic, and I guess a little bit too doesn't really offer much more than what the actual image gave. So I don't know. I think when you're painting a painting, you want to bring something to it that is more than just the image that you're starting with. And in this case, I'm not sure I did that. I'm not sure I was successful in that. Probably because it's just a little too straight, a little bit too much of just a copy of the image. Technically, there's nothing wrong with this painting. It's sort of, I think it came out pretty realistic. It came out pretty convincing, and I like the image itself. I think the image is nice. It's sort of, it kind of screams America to me. Religious gun nuts, that kind of thing. But it's sort of, I guess it feels kind of like an illustration, like something you would find, in a magazine rather than a piece of artwork. So I don't know. I guess that's something that to think about for future painting is that what is this that you're bringing to the image that wasn't there to begin with. Anyway, I used a tinted panel. It's tinted with orange, kind of an orange color. It's recycled paint from one of my previous paintings, and but I wind up pretty much covering all of that orange, so it's not really relevant. It just sort of gives me a bit of a ground to work with. And I drew the picture with a pencil, just directly on that surface. And the original image did not have the full gun. It was sort of cropped at the top, and I kind of felt like I wanted to show the barrel, the muzzle of the gun. So what I wound up doing is I researched this particular weapon and found some images online and to figure out what that front should look like. So I kind of composited it out of a couple of different images. So I guess that's the one thing that I brought to it, is that I changed the composition a little bit. And then whether that's a worthy addition or a valuable enough addition, I'm not sure. Now, I guess the goal for me when I was painting this was to make it realistic. And that's the reason why I started with a pretty detailed drawing. I do fall into a bit of a pitfall when I have a drawing. I kind of get a little distracted by it, and rather than focusing on the painterly quality of the painting, I wind up paying a little bit too much attention to the drawing and kind of being too faithful to it, which is a bit of a limiting factor to me. So, when I start off with kind of just paint and I go, very kind of bold and expressionistic from the very beginning, then things kind of begin to happen and they sort of form naturally within the painting. But with a drawing, that tends to And there's ways around it. I mean, but for me, it tends to kind of limit me a little bit in how I, go about covering that surface. As you can see, I'm kind of doing almost like a paint by numbers type of deal here, where I'm just kind of working around my drawing and staying kind of within the lines almost. So I don't think that's the best way to paint. I think it's nice to be able to kind of let yourself free and you know create a little bit of energy and expression on the surface. But it is a way to create a realistic painting. So if that's what you're going for, it is definitely one way to do it. For me, that's making a realistic painting was a very small part of the goal when I start out painting. And in case anybody's wondering, I am not a gun person. I don't own a gun. I don't shoot guns. The closest that I've gotten to shooting guns was back when I was living in Russia. They used to have these shooting ranges, like there was almost like a video game kind of um, similar to what you get at the fair, where you get like a little cartridge and you shoot out a target. But in Russia, they actually had real guns that shot like a really tiny um, caliber bullets, and you could pay whatever 10 copies copecks and then shoot at a target. So that is probably the closest that I've gotten to shooting a real gun. But so it's I think it's an interesting subject to paint, but I am in no way a gun person. I'm getting back to the painting. I started off with my darks, using even though the Bible is pretty jet black. I'm not really using any black here. I'm using a mixture of ultramarine blue and burnt umber, maybe with some alizarin crimson to make that really dark color. So it actually creates a much richer color and a little bit of a warmer color than you would get with, say, ivory black or lamp black or something like that. And it gives you a little bit more control over the color. Not that you couldn't tint, a black color, but it sort of forces you to have some color in that black to begin with. And then now I'm going in with my kind of middle tones, all the different grays that happen within that gun. And then there's some interesting things happening here. The gun is primarily kind of matte. It's not quite as shiny. There are a couple of shiny parts on it. And then probably the most interesting part on this painting is the letters on the Bible, which are kind of this fake gold printed on top of black. So that's going to be fun to paint, and I think it came out realistic in the end. There's a couple of other things happening here. The left side seems like there is a kind of a purplish light coming in, and then things get warmer as you get closer towards the camera. So things are cooler in the back and warmer towards the front, so that metal changes color as it travels. And it seems like there's a kind of a slightly warmer light coming off from the left and back area. And I apologize that this video is sped up. I know there's a lot of fans of real-time video out there, but this painting took about an hour and a half, and I feel like it's not really worth watching it in real time. And definitely I wouldn't be able to speak to a lot of what's going on, because it's just sort of kind of copying the light that I'm seeing and all the different grays that I'm seeing in the photo. So I sped it up. It's it went from an hour and a half to about half an hour. So that's mainly just to spare you the watching it in real time, and spare myself having to comment on most of it. I guess I want to try to digest, why I'm not happy with this painting. I think part of the reason also is that I'm painting from photograph, and I I find it difficult to paint from photographs, and not because it's difficult to, you know, obviously photographs are in a way a little bit easier to paint from because they don't move. Everything kind of is sort of defined. If you want to, you can even put a little grid over it, and you can copy things pretty precisely. The problem for me is that I think a photograph loses a lot of information. Like if you have a real object in front of you, let's say you take whatever, like even something as simple as an egg, you put it on a table and light it. There's so much more information in that than if you take a picture of that egg and try to paint from that. There's your eyes adjust, and if you start really looking close at the shadow, for example, you'll begin to see all kinds of variations and all kinds of different colors in there, being reflected from other surfaces, from other light sources in the room. And you can also move around and see different angles, and see what's going on the left, for example, or the right, and move your head and see much more of the subject than you could ever get from a photograph. Then you also tend to get a certain kind of impression or a feeling from things that are in real life, as opposed to a photograph. Here, there's a little bit of a benefit because it's not just a photograph. It is a scene from a movie. I remember that scene. There's other elements to it. There's the mood that you get from the movie, but I'm not sure if I really used any of that information when painting. So I think that the pitfall is to kind of look at a photograph and just examine it and see what you're looking at and paint that. And I think what we should all be trying to do is paint our feelings rather than what we see. And so I think that's maybe a lesson learned is, what was the feeling in that scene, that moment, when this person opened that drawer and saw the gun and the Bible inside that drawer. So I guess that's, if I was painting this again, I would maybe try to channel the character a little bit more and the movie a little bit more, and see if I can get at least some of those feelings onto the canvas. But I think what I did in this case was just sort of paint it straight, and that's it. And it's sort of, and it kind of, the way it works in painting is whatever you put into it is what you're going to wind up getting out of it. And in this case, I didn't get a lot out of it. So anyway, I'm going to just continue plugging away, and I think I've kind of said everything I wanted to say about this. Technically, you can kind of see what's going on. There's not a lot of mystery here. I'm just trying to kind of stay true to the tonal values and the colors, and not really doing a lot of invention. So with that, I think I'm going to just put on some music, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this demo, this painting. So technically, when you're painting gold, um, and I have another painting that I'm going to post later on of a skull that is spray painted gold. Um, the key to making it look like real gold is really contrast, and the colors there are really just like a greenish brown, contrasting with a very bright um, whitish yellow. So very kind of intense, almost white yellow, with these kind of browns in the places that don't reflect light directly, and you pretty much have it. There's little moments where the gold is reflecting other colors, but for the most part, it's really just going to either completely not reflect anything or reflect light in a very bright, intense way. And I intentionally left the letters unpainted because I didn't want to. I mean, when I was painting the background, the black of the Bible, I left them unpainted because I knew that I didn't want to battle with the black. Yellow and black, once they start to mix, you get a green color, which is not really conducive to this gold illusion. On the other hand, the letters on the other side of the gun, I did paint in the background kind of very loosely, but there's only very few little spots of light that come through and they get reflected off of those letters, and for the most part, it's really just that kind of greenish brown that you see. So I wasn't too concerned about that, but also there was the letters weren't very big there, so there wasn't really a way for me to paint around them and save that. So it looks like the painting is pretty close to being done. The gun's looking shiny, the Bible's looking black. Um, it is kind of fun that the black sort of turns to this almost a very light gray as it reflects more light towards the front of the Bible. And I think there's a nice light, nice sense of kind of this purple light that's coming from the left side, which is interesting. Have you figured out what this movie is? If you do, if you have, leave it in the comments. And also let me know what you thought of this movie. And if you've watched it recently. I recently rewatched it after not having seen it for many, many years. And it still stands up, even though there are a few kind of things in there that kids these days probably wouldn't get. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. If you disagree with what I think about this painting or this kind of painting in general, let me know also. Or if you agree, let me know. Anyway, subscribe and press all the necessary buttons to help my channel grow. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.